It's a beautiful bacon day, Cookie Crusaders. We are going to be running through the new season of Arena and see how far we can get with just the one team. We're going to be using our Summoner team, which is specifically using Black Pearl as the fourth add-in instead of Pumpkin Pie. Even though Pumpkin Pie is a strong unit, Black Pearl congregates everybody together so that our creatures can deal a lot of damage, and it does healing reduction just the same as Pumpkin Pie does, so that's going to be the big benefit. And we're running our second healer so that we have sustainability to the team against almost most teams. The only good counters for it are usually the double tanks with their own Black Pearl and Espresso. So let's just start running it through. Let's see how high we can get the streak to go. Don't worry, we've got 2 10 tickets to claim for the arena so that we can continue on. So we should at least be able to perform about 30 battles. And we'll see how far and how fast we climb. Now, of course, your monuments, your landmarks, your toppings, your cookie levels, all of those are going to make a big difference in how you can perform in the arena. So do take it with a grain of salt that it is not going to be a one-all be-all perfection team. As you can see, it runs into its own instances and issues depending on what team you're fighting. In this case, we were fighting a T-Knight team, which a Claire is going to get that insignia instead of their T-Knight, which means that we have a heavy advantage, and eventually we just take them out. Now, once again, if you're fighting against people that have lower treasures, you're going to have that advantage. But day 1 is a pretty strong battle day with this team running, because everyone being at around the same level, you're going to be able to climb very quickly. And that reason is the trophies have been adjusted about 2 or 3 seasons ago, where you get more trophies for fighting at the lower ranks. It's not until you get up to about crystal ranking that you start to actually have issues getting high treasures for lower tiered people. So this was the first team we ran into that was not able to beat it. And if you look here, this is a triple AoE team. Sea Fairy, Espresso, Black Pearl, all 3 are heavy summon counters. So there is no confusion in my mind why we lost that, but that's okay. We're just running straight through. We're not changing teams. We're not micromanaging. We're just going to see how far we can get and how fast we can get there. My favorite thing about the summoners is that they all blend in a fun way together. I can't wait to see more come out in time to keep micromanaging the team to its perfect limitations. Every once in a while, I will make slight alterations to kind of kick up the team's power depending on what the meta is. So for instance, right now I'm running Black Pearl. Last season, before Black Pearl and Caviar were introduced, I was running Pure Vanilla to give extra shield power to the oysters and to give extra power to the other summon creatures. And then the season before that, I was running Pumpkin Pie and Snow Sugar because Snow Sugar was doing a really good job. So there is some flexibility and variations to it. If we get new treasures or new cookies that really depend on defense status, maybe Licorice will make the way back into the summon team. If we get more buffs on, like similar to the pincushion, then we might have a guaranteed slot saved for Pumpkin Pie at all times because of that extra attack power, that extra longevity of summon creatures being out, their extra health. All of that's going to matter as well. But as you can see, the main counters are going to either be double and triple AoE teams or at least good tanks that have good AoEs. So Black Pearl is still a very powerful summoner counter. So do be wary and mindful of that. But as you can see, we're not running into any teams that have Caramel Arrow on it because it's not really a threat to us right now. Now, if it's Caramel Arrow and Black Pearl, that's a pretty heavy threat because then it's critical damage and area damage. So we really can't defend on all wavelengths. We're just defending on one specific position. But we're getting through pretty quickly. We've exhausted 6 tickets so far. One thing I do wish they would do is get that 2.5 times speed in PvP Arena. We can't micromanage the battle itself, and if we really want to slow down to see what's happening, we would just slow it down by changing the speed of the match. So I don't understand why they can't let us have 2.5 on PvP yet. They've done it for many other modes, and I would really love for them to release the 2.5 speed on the arena. That way on days like this that it's grinding day, I can get through it a bit quicker. I can exhaust tickets almost twice as fast. It's not guaranteed twice as fast, but it's almost. And so that would be a really helpful thing. Before we go use gems to refill, though, let's go ahead and claim our arena tickets that we have here and here so that we can just keep pushing through. So, what are you looking forward to this season? Are you using any specific team to grind upward? Maybe you're using last season's meta team. It's still powerful. It's still running strong. There haven't been any direct counters created for it at the moment, or at least not ones that completely changed the meta. Are you running summoners? Do you even like the summoners team? I don't really know the overall opinion, and I guess I should do a metric on that on my channel, just asking what type of team that you guys like the most. Do you like the summoners? Do you like speed? Do you like the scam comps with Kumio and Gingerbrave? Do you like the 4 quad team that runs 4 tanks? Do you like the all stun unit types where you're just trying to stun the units continuously while utilizing good cookies? Like, what's your overall favorite team composition? As you can see, in most instances, though, the summoners are just absolutely plowing through, and Black Pearl and Oyster are doing a really good job. The reason Oyster's doing such a good job is because of that high cooldown. We don't have any damage resistance on our Oyster, and that's why she's also dying the soonest out of all the cookies. So if we could, we would get the damage resistance on her, but producing toppings with perfect 2% cooldown and high topping DR substats can be pretty tough. So I'm working towards that, of course, but that's not something I've unlocked just yet. So right now we're running 24.9% cooldown on Oyster, and we have 0% damage resistance on Oyster. But because of the team composition and setup, we're pushing through most threats because they can barely even get to our actual cookie line because of all our creatures. And because of the pull from Black Pearl when Black Pearl goes to the enemy lines. So between those combinations, we're hitting a lot of good synergies that are really carrying this team further along. Now, the main thing I will say is that if we could have certain stats upgraded, we could potentially be beating the meta teams too. Now, when I say that, Cotton also only has about 1.8% damage resistance on the toppings. So if we could get, I'd say at least 25% damage resistance on both Cotton and Oyster, we would have the viability to compete against 90% of the arena teams right now in circulation, where right now we can probably only compete against maybe about 80, just because of teams like this where they have double AoE and a pushback with Purple Yam. So that worked in their favor for those reasons. But overall, it does handle pretty well. The other thing that I wish I could have is perfect attack speed toppings, specifically for Cream Unicorn. So if I had Cream Unicorn with high cooldown, high attack speed, and high damage resistance, we could probably critically heal most of our team very quickly, giving us the overall advantage against very, very many teams. Now, one thing I've also considered experimenting with, but yet again is going to take some topping adjustments and some topping accruement, is more critical resistance too. A lot of the times when these double AoE and triple AoE teams are hitting our enemy creatures here, you can see that it's a lot of critical damage hitting all at once. So that critical damage is pretty much the main reason why our cookies are not only perishing so quickly, but taking so much damage so quickly. Hence why you see the other side dealing so much damage in their statistics. So I think if I could focus maybe on one main stat, like cooldown for our summoners, so that these summons would happen as much as possible, and then damage and critical resistance as the other two main focuses, I think that we would have some pretty strong blends against the enemy teams. But what do you think? What's your personal opinion? As you can see, we're still just popping through without any issues. We've earned quite a lot of trophies in this 9 minutes so far, and now we're actually at the point where we've climbed to where most of the other tiers and people are, to where we're not earning as many trophies all at once. So it's going to be a little bit of a grind, but if I keep it this, maybe about 60 to 80 tickets later, I should be able to enter the Master Tier League just using the Summoners team. Without having to change, without having to think about different toppings or different treasures or setups, we should just be able to get there with that setup. There will be some encounters that will be pretty tough, and I'm sure that we'll run into all those on the way, but it is something that I think that we're going to be able to accomplish. So what's your thoughts on summoners? Do you think it's a good team to grind out with? Do you think you should be using a different meta team? Let me know in the comments what you think. Thank you so much for stopping by, and have a wonderful day.